I'm going to be showing you how I built up this collection of about 300 collectibles. I just sold one, so 299 collectibles worth well over $30,000 with under $100 in capital. And by the end of this video, you're going to be able to discover how you can flip digital collectibles and make $100, $300, $500 a day when you understand these few principles. So today I'm going to be showing you 3 principles that is ultimately crucial if you want to be able to make money online flipping digital products, or rather NFTs, as well as collectibles. So this specific app that I've been utilizing over here is called VeVe. They've got a lot of big name brands and licenses. And if you've been following this channel, you'll know that I started this many months ago. And this is, collectibles is something I've always enjoyed. If you've been watching this channel, I've been talking about comics and collectible cards as one of the things that I've loved doing ever since I was a kid. And right now, the way the collectibles market is pivoting into NFTs, as well as utilizing crypto as a way to authenticate that these collectibles are limited as well as original, that is tied to these brands and trademarks. So let's take a quick look at this actual collection right now. So if I were to go to my sets, I have pretty much every major set out there. And if you're new to this, I'm going to be showing you how you can be able to build this from scratch. But pretty much every single major set except the Ghostbusters ones, which is pretty ridiculous, as well as some that's not yet released. But pretty much, most of the sets are complete. And I want to be able to walk you through some crucial principles. Well, 3 of them, if you want to be able to make money online, flipping these NFTs. So let's begin with principle number 1. Now, principle number 1 is understanding how to utilize this thing called arbitrage, which is basically taking advantage of the different prices in different marketplaces. You see, most of the time, how do most people buy and sell stuff? Most people buy and sell stuff utilizing this thing in the marketplace. And you can see I'm bidding on a few different things. But right now, this is how most people buy and sell. They utilize the marketplace over here and they're listing their stuff in here. So one of the things that I always do is I wouldn't say never, but it's very rare if I would buy something expensive meaning, $1,000 and above. I always want to be able to utilize the secondary market, and that happens in Telegram. So right now, there are a lot of groups out there. I'm not related to this group, I'm not endorsing this group, but there are a lot of different groups on Telegram where people are selling stuff. And you're going to realize that most of the time, if you are able to take advantage of the difference in prices, usually on Telegram, most of the prices that is listed is cheaper than the cheapest listing in the official marketplace. Now, the most important thing is to understand how to protect yourself so that you don't end up being scammed. So, for example, you notice this random guy here saying, I'm buying this for $1,250, I cover escrow. So a very important thing is to utilize an escrow service. So there are a few groups out there that has got reputable escrow that specializes in these type of platforms, where all you gotta do is you go in there and you got to make sure that the escrow service, so real quick tip, is that when you do join this group that's an escrow, it is not like their own friend. Now, how do you recognize that you're not like the third party walking into a trap when you join an escrow? Well, it would to make sure that the good thing about in Telegram is you can scroll back and look at the history of all of the chat. So you want to make sure that this spans, months of history, so that you'll be able to see that there's transaction happening every single day and that there are legitimate buyers and sellers utilizing this escrow service. That's one of the things that I do. So number 1 is utilizing arbitrage. So over here, you'll notice that there are a lot of people that would be selling the in-game or in-app currency or collectibles, and it is usually approximately 30% cheaper. So that means if something is at $1,000, usually in the secondary market, it would be listed as $700. Same thing for the in-app cash, which they call gems. If you want to buy 1,000 gems, as you can see here, the going rate is 0.7, meaning if you want to buy 1,000 gems, usually you just need to pay $700 for it. So the first thing is to understand the difference in markets and to protect yourself utilizing arbitrage. So the way I do this for fun in my free time is I would just, buy stuff on Telegram, and it is usually at least 30% cheaper. and then resell it back on VeVe. Now, the question is, how do you cash out? We'll come to that in a bit. But if I were to go to my collection, so for example, let's say an expensive drop would be, for example, in the series 1 of Batman, this Eduardo Risso Batman. You can see right now, I've got 2 collections of this item, these 2 collectibles. And right now, if I were to go to the marketplace, you will see that the cheapest is being sold for about 3,000 gems, right? Now, guess what? There was a point in time when fear was an all-time high just about 2 weeks ago, and that was when this Risso was being sold for about 1,600. That's how much I picked it up for, and just about 3 days ago I was flipping at 3k. So that was nearly double, and I bought a couple. So this is how you utilize the difference in markets. Okay, so that's number 1, arbitrage. And that brings us to number 2. Number 2 is to make sure you get the drops every single time for the ultra rare. Now, I'm going to show you this hack that I've not seen anybody talking about. And even though when I do see people talk about this hack that's going to consistently enable you to get the ultra rares whenever they drop, because whenever there's a drop, the ultra rare gets sold out in like literally seconds. The last drop, it went out in like 7 seconds. So how do you give yourself that advantage and make sure you get it every single time? So for example, a recent drop for this Dragon Girl, and this Dragon Girl here, this ultra rare, if we were to go to the marketplace right now, you can see that the cheapest is being sold for 1,700, which is ridiculous because just a couple of weeks ago I was buying and selling at 900. So the question is, when this drop happened, you can see like the retail price of this when it dropped on the 13th of May, it was for 99 gems, right? $100. But right now people are selling it for 1,700, and that's the cheapest in the marketplace. Insane. So if you can get these drops every time they release, it is pretty much, you are assured of making pretty good, decent money, depending on what the drop is. So recently, the last 2 drops, you could make about 2 or 3 times. Not that great, but if it's like this drop, you'll make 10 times or more. Okay, so what is one thing that can give you an unfair advantage when it comes to these drops? Couple of things. Whenever there's a new drop, here's how you would see it. Okay, so for example, like let's say this ghost trap that is releasing in, well, nobody really knows yet, there's no exact date. But let's say the drop is happening in 1 hour's time. Now I can't show you exactly how it looked like, but this is how it looked like. Okay, so, well, I just can't contradict myself. But for example, let's say this thing was dropping in 1 hour's time. This is how it would appear, right? It would appear as, dropping soon with this blanket over it. This is how most people see it. Now, one of the things that you want to do is you want to trick the app. And this is weird. I brought this up a couple of times, and the people that would actually comment, oh, this thing's not working right now, and I can guarantee you the people saying that is saying that because they don't want other people to know, but I want to be able to level the playing field. So here's what you do. You got to be able to trick the app into thinking that the drop is already here. So what you'll do is you'll go to the setting of your phone, and what you will do is you will actually change the date and time. So usually in most phones, the date and time is set automatically. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to change that, and I'm going to change it so that the timing is in the future where the drop has already happened. Now, when that happens, what's going to happen is when I go back to this, again, I can't show that to you right now because the drop is not happening soon. And perhaps I'll probably shoot future videos that show you exactly how it looked like. But once you set a date and time that's in the future, you will see that this thing here is no longer like the blanket over here, but you'll see the option to buy. Now, before the official drop time, you still won't be able to buy, but the good news is this will save you that few crucial seconds. And then what I'll do is I will go and have an official internet time in front of me so that the moment it lands at that specific time where it is on the dot, where it's, the seconds is 59 seconds and then 0 seconds. When it says 0 seconds, that's when I'll click. And that is a strategy that I've utilized that I didn't know, a couple of months back, but it's given me a huge advantage. And ever since I did that, I pretty much got every single drop for the ultra rare. So this is something that you could be doing as well. Now, I know this is not going to make everybody happy. For those of you who already knew about it, chances are you're going to hate on this video. And again, the whole goal is so that the app developers fix this so that it's a level playing field for everybody. Okay, so go utilize that, and you're going to realize that you would be one of the insiders who actually understand how to get the ultra rares consistently. Okay, so that's number 2, making sure that you get the ultra rares because there's a huge margin to be made if you can actually get it. And this is one way that you can really save and shave off that crucial few seconds. Finally, that brings us to number 3. And number 3 is basically market control. Now, what do I mean by market control? Here's what I mean. So this advanced play, this will require you to have some sort of capital built up beforehand. So because I've built up quite a bit of collection, you notice that I've got 299 collectibles right now. A lot of them are duplicates. Why? Because one of the things that I'm going for is once a while, I will control a specific market if I feel that there's a gap and there's opportunity to be made. So this is something that I've done in the real life collectibles market, where I might buy up a specific comic, a specific print, where I feel that there is limited amounts of supply in the market and that I can control and buy out the lowest level price points listings so that I can have enough units that drives up the minimum price in the market. Let me show you an example. So let's say the last week, 2 weeks ago, I think, the last drop was for this cover girls of DC Universe. So there's like Supergirl and Batgirl and Catwoman. So for example, the rare did not do well. And the reason for that is right now on the apps, they had a little bit too many mints for this specific edition. So if I were to go to this edition right now, you will see that the list price, the retail price of this is 60 gems. And right now, the cheapest is listed at 57. And right now, this is pretty much one of the very few rarest that is listed below retail. So what does that tell me? Okay, so I'm always looking at, well, if I were to raise the minimum price, again, this third strategy is advanced and it does require capital, but there's a lot of money to be made there. And one of the ways that I probably made over 10 grand doing that is just by raising the minimum amount. Okay, so all I'll do is I'll take a look at this and I'll see how many units is required on my end in order to list and increase the minimal price, taking into account that there's a 2.5% fee whenever a sale happens. Okay, so 2.5% of $60, that is approximately $3. Okay, so I'm gonna take that into account as my cost every time this thing here gets sold, right? So before I show you exactly how I do it, understand that it's not about this specific model. I'm here to show you how to think about this so that, because you could be watching this a month from now, 3 months from now, 9 months from now, 3 years from now. But if you understand these principles, you'll be able to apply them in whatever app, whatever platform. Doesn't need to be VeVe. This is just the example of how I've done it and how you can be doing it as well. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3. All these are auction. By the way, on top of these, all these are auction units, and that's why you see the auction hammer over there on the top right-hand side. Now, these are the buy now prices. Okay, so for example, there is
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
Wow, that's a lot.
Okay, 21.
Did not know that.
22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28.
So at 28 below 60, let's take a look at how many at retail 60.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
15, okay, and probably 61 and 63, there will probably be, let's say, a whole lot more, it looks like it. So all I'm going to do right now is, in my mind, I am doing a quick calculation on how much is required in order to buy this out. Let's do some quick math to see how this might look like, okay? So right now we have approximately 18 units, okay, below retail, below 60, okay? And I believe it was approximately maybe about 20 units at 60. And if I were to do a ballpark figure, I'm guessing there would probably be about at least 50 units from $60 to $65, right? So all I'm doing is whenever I want to think about, taking over a specific market and attack it and get a ton of it, right? I'm always thinking about, well, once the market corrects itself, right? So the same way as how I showed you that Risso example, about 2 weeks ago, people were selling at $1,800, $2,000. And I knew that at the peak, now the peak was about, I would say about 7 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, maybe even 3 months ago. The peak was at $8,000. Insane. Okay, it actually dropped 50, 75%. So I'm thinking about like the potential. And when there's user adoption and when there's a lot more users right now, what's going to happen to this price of this first edition rare? It's going to take a while. Okay, but that's the beauty of this game, right? It's all speculation, and it's how you think about the market. So how I think about this is that roughly, okay, there's going to be, I'm going to need capital of 38 multiplied by 60 bucks. And that would be about $2,400. So here's the question I'm asking myself, right? Do I want to spend $2,400 in order to push up the minimum price to $60? Okay. And in my mind, the answer would be no, right? Pretty obvious here. Why? Because for this example here, even if it did go up by a couple of bucks and went back to retail, which it would, right? It would. I still got to take into account the 2.5% sales fee, and the risk versus reward would not be worth it. Okay, so what I'll always do is whenever I'm taking a look at all these listings, that's how I'm thinking, right? So for me, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait so that there's less amounts of these in the market so that I can control it. So what I would rather do is I would rather take a look at, for example, other listings and see if I can control that minimum amount because there's less quantity there. So for example, this ultra rare, right? So this ultra rare, just about a week ago, the minimum amount was 900 bucks. And I was buying a few of them at 900 and I resold them at 1,200, 1,300, a couple of hundred quick in a couple of days. But right now it's 1,007. So if I waited a bit, you know, I would have made a little bit more. But the truth is, you never really know when the peak is going to be. But I do know when the prices drop, right? So you never really know how high it can go because, you know, depending on user and how long you hold, that could really significantly go up. But you do know, you know, when it's lower than usual. And when it's lower than usual, that's when you can actually go in and raise the minimum amount. You know, same thing as Riso over here. When it was selling for 1,800, I picked up a few to drive up the minimum amount so that I can raise the minimum. But that's the third strategy. The third strategy is basically just thinking about how you can raise the minimum by buying out the cheapest ones in the market and then slowly, and that's the key here, slowly relisting it back in the market. And that's pretty much how I built up this entire collection for a couple $100 bucks. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below what your VeVe username is if you are on this app. One of the things that we are doing is I've been doing giveaways on this app based on the last few videos that I did, and I'm going to be giving 1 to 3 people a sold out collectible, transferring it to your account by just letting me know in the comments below what your username is and what your biggest takeaway is from this video. And if you enjoyed this video, do smash the like button. This helps the channel out, and subscribe to this channel if you want to be able to see more videos just like this one.